Today I was in Amsterdam, and I tried to get the real story of what exactly happened after the Ajax Maccabi Tel Aviv match. Reason for the intense night was said to be the molestation from an Amsterdam taxi driver by the Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters. I asked the Amsterdam taxi drivers what exactly had happened.
Coincidentally, this morning I had a colleague who said that there was a colleague who drove on the Rocken that is in Amsterdam, and that he saw a number of hooligans pulling on a flag.
A Palestinian flag?
Yes, a Palestinian flag. Then he lowered the window of the cab and spoke to them, asking, "What are you doing?" Then they said, "What's your problem?" He got out of the car, and they walked toward him. He thought it was just the two of them, but there was a whole group further away. They came running and completely attacked him, leaving him completely disoriented.
So they beat him senseless?
Yes, that's what I understood. I didn't see it, I wasn't there, but that's what I was told by a colleague.
His taxi too?
Well, his taxi? He didn't tell me that, but that's what I've heard in the reports. A colleague's taxi was completely destroyed, and he was also assaulted.
I received the phone number of a key figure in the Amsterdam taxi world. He is said to be in contact with several taxi drivers who had been assaulted.
Ja, goedemiddag.
Ja, assalamu alaikum. Spreek met Mickey?
Salam alaikum. Am I speaking with Mekki?
Wa alaikum assalam.
This is Salaheddine from YouTube. How are you? Am I disturbing you, brother?
I just finished a football match in Almere City. We won 2-1, and now I'm heading to the dressing room.
Oh, okay, haha. Yes, I heard you're a key figure in the Amsterdam taxi world. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. I've been right in the middle of it from the beginning.
We're in Amsterdam now, and we're actually looking for someone who can tell us more about the first incident from yesterday.
I've seen images from taxi drivers who experienced it from the beginning. Yes, I've been following the group chat of the drivers, so I know all about it. It's so ridiculous what they're doing in the media. It's scandalous. Unbelievable how they twist the facts and spread lies.
Can I come to you in Almere City so we can talk about it?
Totally fine. Then we can have coffee and chat. I have a lot to tell you. I have to say, I'm really disappointed in the media. The Dutch media is so scandalous.
So that you know that we're going to film it, we're also recording this conversation right now. We're conducting an investigation to find the truth. I hope that's not a problem.
No problem. I'll say it as it is. You know, what a shame. The Dutch media should be ashamed. Really? The Netherlands is upside down, man. But the real heroes are the taxi drivers. Hey, the taxi drivers. All of them. They're the heroes. What they've done to them in the media, I'll make sure they pay. We will get them. The hypocrisy is insane.
All right, brother. We'll see each other soon.
The Tel Aviv hooligans have just misbehaved. It's not like they're being portrayed as just a group peacefully traveling through Europe. They've also caused trouble in other places where they visited, even abusing people in Greece. And now here, they thought they could get away with it in Amsterdam, but they didn't take into account the residents here and the taxi drivers. This is our bread, and they just need to treat us with respect. If they do, they'll get respect in return.
They were heading towards the city, towards the dam, just destroying everything. And those fences, they were throwing them at people. And then, well, what happened next is well known.
In the talk shows, they were talking about an organized hunt for Jews.
What a nonsense.
It's very simple. We take everyone away, like in cab rides, including Maccabi supporters, at a time when they're not behaving and showing no respect. Then they shouldn't be surprised if they're acted upon. Very simple. Yes, and they're not being fair. Supporters are supporters, but these supporters, they act as if they're peaceful. You'd think they're part of the Boy Scouts, but that's the image the media paints, which isn't right at all. Because we also feel threatened. Look, you shouldn't forget, this stand has about 25 cars, one of the larger stands. Then you have the stand at Leidschaplein, which is smaller, but even a group of supporters, or let's call them hooligans, better, 200, 500 people. Even if it's just 100, it's still intimidating. And yes, this is our livelihood. If it's taken away from us, if we're abused, if the cars are destroyed, It's at the expense of our livelihood and bread and safety.
I made an appointment with Lemeki. He told me that he was extremely shocked by the molestation and that his taxi drivers had filmed everything.
I also have images of that. My drivers, at that moment, taxi drivers who were actually there. This happened to them because they were just doing their job. And at one point, they were addressed as Arabs and called all sorts of names. At a certain point, you see someone ripping the Palestinian flag, going inside people's houses unannounced, with no decency, without any reason, just tearing and provoking my drivers. Yes, the drivers were very provoked.
What exactly happened to that taxi driver, the one who wanted to intervene? Can you share that?
Yes, that taxi driver was beaten. They say they're okay, but those Maccabi athletes, yes, the ones involved, beat that taxi driver. The taxi driver was beaten first. Violence was committed against the taxi drivers, and then the taxi drivers responded, and that's how it all started. I'm also ex-military, a UN veteran, Dutchbat. In my time in Dutchbat during the Srebrenica mission, I've seen certain actions. What I see here, though, is not about football fanatics. This is a Zionist military action. They say they are just hooligans, but no, that's not the case.
How are the assaulted taxi drivers doing now?
Not going well. It's not just with them, there are several drivers who came to me. They've given me private recordings in confidence, and I'm going to hand them over to the police.
So someone filmed that he was hit. Can I maybe see some of those videos right now?
No, those images, they were given to me in confidence.
So, you're going to hand them over to the police?
Yes, I will show everything to the police, exactly what happened.
The taxi drivers I interviewed didn't want to be on camera. I asked Meki what the reason for that is.
They are now being seen as terrorists. The Moroccan Dutchman who stood up for the owner of the house in Rocken, whose flag was ripped, is now being labeled a terrorist. He's the victim, but he's being hunted. How can this be? He's standing up for freedom, for our freedom of speech, isn't he?
The owner of that house, who hung up a flag, has every right to hang whatever flag he wants.
Of course. Of course, it's clear that the Moroccan Dutch who stand up for Dutch values, including the freedom of speech, are now being wrongly portrayed in the media. They can no longer express themselves as victims or explain their side of the story. This is truly an upside-down world, and it's hard to understand why our own politicians are turning their backs on their citizens. Moroccan Dutch who defend our nation, who stand up for the Dutch flag, like myself, I served as a Dutch soldier with a blue helmet in Srebrenica, and I've personally helped Dutch soldier in the genocide of Srebrenica personally, so I know how it feels to be misunderstood. What I want to say is, anyone who feels they've been wronged, those who have been treated unfairly, should feel free to reach out. We can go to the authorities to share their experiences and seek justice, not only for the wrongs done but also for the smearing and mistreatment they've faced. I've witnessed this before, and I know how it feels. It's not right that the real victims are being seen as something they're not. Let's make sure those who are affected have a voice, and that they receive the respect and support they deserve. They've been beaten, they've been threatened, and no one is doing anything about it. The police have abandoned them, and so have the politicians. The police and the politicians, these are the two most important institutions in our country, and they are leaving their own citizens out in the cold.
The Maccabi supporters came to Amsterdam to play football against Ajax. They were portrayed as just football fans. But when they tore the Palestinian flags off the buildings, that became a political act, didn't it? And at that moment, you can't really see them as football supporters anymore, can you? At that point, they become more like figures aligned with the IDF, because they're no longer focused on football.
You're absolutely right, Salaheddine, because you're talking about the Palestinian flag, right? But, in principle, it's actually the Dutch flag they're tearing apart. The Palestinian flag is hanging in the home of a Dutch person, here, in the Netherlands. They're coming all the way from occupied territory, just for football. What do they have to do with tearing apart a Dutch flag? They tore our Dutch flag. That's why I say that those Moroccan Dutch taxi drivers, they're my heroes.
If these had been Arab supporters who came here and tore down flags from whatever and vandalized property, the country would have been in an uproar, and they would have received lifetime bans. So, it's very clear and one-sided how it's being framed, but people have to be realistic.